against the media. We needed to defend ourselves against the politician. We needed to defend ourselves against all the hate mail that we received. We were afraid. We were just afraid at that time. We didn't know what to do.
It wasn't only Lebanese Muslims who experienced this. Many Lebanese Christians also experienced it, because in the wider public ignorant mind, it was simply enough to be Arab, Lebanese, from the Middle East, irrespective of religion or faith or lack of it.
Down the street, and I was spraying out the back, and unfortunately for him, I sprayed his stash of heroin. So he came, he had the nerve to come and complain to my dad, saying, "Oh, your son's ruined my stash of heroin." And my dad, nearly thumped him.
And a people already reeling are about to be demonised. A 14-year-old Korean schoolboy is stabbed when he walks into the wrong front yard by mistake.
Edward and 4 friends had just pulled up at their classmate's 15th birthday.
A young boy going to a birthday party. It just happened that birthday party in Tolopia Street. He went into the wrong house. They didn't like the way he looked. They stabbed him.
It wasn't good for the community, but it sort of fit in with the pattern of life around Punchbowl at the time. Shootings, kneecappings, whatever you want to call it, was unfortunately very common at the time.
Edward's parents are receiving counselling. He was an only child. His friends have told police they didn't know their attackers and there was no reason for the killing.
Son, but we'll have to find who did it for the mothers who have sons.
I think in some ways the murder of Edward Lee in Tolopia Street focused a whole lot of media and public attention on the street and on the suburb, on southwest Sydney. There were other murders, there were other people who were killed in very tragic circumstances, but they didn't sort of grab the public imagination and the media attention the way the Lee murder did.
And what happens next is going to mean a disaster for the Lebanese community and all those associated with it. Rather than framing this as, here is a community under threat from its own deviant rump, it's presented to the community and the wider world as, this is something that is particular and peculiar to this community. It's their problem, not ours. And from then on, the basis for the future debate is set in a very nasty and toxic way.
People wanted to see politicians get tough on crime. And they knew that the sentiment was out there that people wanted to appropriate those crimes to a particular culture. They tapped into a very real fear. It wasn't just about Lebanese. The term Islamophobia started to be used more often, the fear of Muslims.
I'm proud of my Islam. Because Islam taught me, dignity, taught me how to respect others and accept them. And that's the most important part.
At the height of the Islamophobia, Nadia Saleh is employed as a local government family support worker in southwest Sydney.
I was always organising Christmas hampers and Christmas toys for families and children. I called one client and she said, "Nadia, would you mind if I ask you, where are you from?" I said, "Why are you asking me? I'm from here." She said, no, what's your background?" I said, "I'm Lebanese." She said, "But you won't be Muslim. You're not Muslim, aren't you?" I said, "Thank God I'm a Muslim."
Because when my dad started putting speed humps around the streets of Punchbowl, he let the gangsters, the thugs with the fast cars always want to speed down every street. But he let them know that you're not welcome in Punchbowl.
As the community
from southwest Sydney.
I think it really shook the community to its core. I think it really made every family question how they were raising their kids, because it was something that was unforeseen or unheard of or unthinkable that people so local, so close to home, could do something that terrible to somebody and think that they had a right to do that.
When the media storm erupts, Nimat Kabutli, Mohammed's future wife, is a teenager in high school.
It was very scary. I think a lot of families became fearful for their daughters. Like, I remember personally thinking, I'm never going to marry a Lebanese Muslim guy, because if that's what they're like, then that's disgusting.
The young women, still just teenagers, have relived their degrading ordeal in the courtroom, hearing again and again the horrifying crimes committed against them. In all, there were 4 victims, 3 separate attacks in several locations in Sydney's southwest.
The Daily Telegraph in particular finds the victims and gets them to repeat allegations about the words that the assailants used against them.
One of the victims said she was referred to as an Aussie pig and was told by one of the rapists, "I'm going to fuck you Leb style."
The words Leb style flash around the nation. Suddenly, the Lebanese Australian community stands accused.
It was the epitome of the anti-Lebanese, anti-Muslim history in this country. But the Lebanese community were as outraged and horrified by the rapes as any other. It was like a biblical stoning ceremony. People could not throw those stones hard enough.
Raped for racial reasons. Evidence given to the court demonstrated that those responsible for these vicious and sickening crimes, hunted as Lebanese Muslims, identified themselves as Lebanese Muslims, formed the plan of attack as Lebanese Muslims.
Alan Jones introduces a new dimension. He moves from the notion which is more widely held about rapists, that they are a small minority, often psychotic, sick-minded people who are at the edge of the social world. And he places them in the middle as an exemplar of all Muslim men. Across the community there were death threats received, there were messages left in letterboxes, there were threats that Muslim women would be dragged from the streets and raped in revenge.
And so walking the streets, you were absolutely looked at differently. You were looked at as he could be another rapist, or he could be part of that gang, or and because all these guys came from the area I was living in at the time, it affected me even more. It shook my identity to the world. I mean, I knew who I was, but the world saw me differently.
All the people, listen, all the people that raped girls in the past, did you told that they were Christians or Catholics or Jews? Exactly. You said they're Muslims, okay? We did not go rape anybody.